Welcome to Dyson Sphere Program. My name is Niels and I have what I can only describe as a bit of a masterclass for you today. This is about solar sails, and what I'm going to show you now is exactly how not to teach people new things. This is how not to build it. This is how I usually build it, but I've come up with two excellent builds. One is for your home planet or the first planet in another solar system where you need to get some scaling of solar sails. And the second one is the final endgame version that once you have this, you just stamp it down, and if you want more, you stamp down more of them. So both, of course, are consolidated blueprints that do everything for base materials, and they are available on my website as usual, so check the link in the description below. If you like these kind of videos, then be sure to hit the like button, consider subscribing for more guides, and of course, if you want to support the channel and the work I do here, then there is also available to support on Patreon, and I really appreciate that. And let's get started with the first build. So we are going to go into our blueprints book, and I have a blueprint book that will be everything you will ever need for making solar sails, I hope. The first one we have is 32 solar sails per minute. And before we just stamp it down, I want to just show you over on the right hand side what items I'm going to use for it. So you sort of gauge the tech level that I'm assuming you are at when you build this. So I'm using Mark II assemblers and Mark I chemical plants because I don't assume that you have quantum chips at this point. And we are going to use a tiny bit of proliferation. So the most important part about this is first the placement, and then we'll talk about the ingredients and where to do it, because replacement is kind of where we need to do it. As you can see here, this is my tropic zone, and we can see that there's room for 1 and 2 in this area. Or there's room for 1 up here. Now in length it takes what I call planetary sectors. It takes 4 planetary sectors up here or 3 planetary sectors down here. This is something I very carefully always design for, so that it's a nice number of builds you can put here on a planet, and you always know where to place them. Now placement, usually my placement is in this one spot, but then we can have 3 here and here. But in this case, since it's a bit wider, we have to move it a bit, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 squares in. This is location. I want to place the middle of the power plant in. So that's going to be right there, or not the mirror, the planetary logistics station. There we go. So we're going to be placing here and just get it started on working. What we are going to take a look at while it's being built is all the things that go into this build. So first and foremost, we are going to get like really basic materials: iron, copper, and glass. We are not using optical grading crystals here because the intention of this build is that this will be your first build. If you are so lucky that you have a gas giant with fire ice in your home planet, then you build it in your home planet or home system. Otherwise, maybe you get your first warpers out there, and then this will be something you build in the first systems out of there. And you want to make sure that that system definitely has a gas giant with fire ice. So we are building it here, gas giant with fire ice. The planet you should build it on in that system should have a lot of stone, because we are going to use a lot of stone for the glass. And also iron and copper would be nice, so you can just build these things locally. This is what I do on this planet, and let's have a look. Here we go. I have some builds here where we get some copper, some glass, and some iron as well. So we have the ingredients we need. This build is not proliferated. It just makes some small green circuits, or just circuits in this case, that will just go down on this line here, feeding all of the photon combiners. The photon combiners are taking glass in, and here we are going to make the prisms. So you can see that's a lot of glass that goes into making this one. It's 2 glass here, and each one is 3. So this is basically 3 glass for every 1 photon combiner. So that's kind of a lot of glass that goes in here. What we're going to do is have all of this built out here, going out on a single belt out on this side, and on a single belt on the other side here, which leads into the next part of the build. So this part is self-contained, using iron, copper, and glass, and outputting just nice photon combiners here. The second planetary logistics system. Now, what is also important about the planetary logistics system is that they are you can replace them with interplanetary logistics system, interstellar logistics system, if you feel so inclined. But I prefer to have everything happening on planet using the planetary logistics. But that's up to you. We have hydrogen or fire ice coming in. I'm demanding it locally because I'm bringing it into the planet by up here by my polar hub that I did in a recent video, so check that out, of course. And we have so hydrogen is a junk product in this case, and you might sort of be wondering, how are you going to do? What are you going to do with the hydrogen to sort that out? Well, the hydrogen is a junk material, but what I'm going to do is I am going to use it for fueling the plant, the power. So just make a lot of power plants up here. That will be a good way to consume a lot of hydrogen. And if it's not, then make sure that you request it off planet later on in the game. This build, I'll just walk through how it works. We get the fire ice out here. It goes in and goes above line and goes back again. And then we get the hydrogen on the middle lane here, also goes back and collects into a storage before going into the planetary logistics station for availability later on. And then the final product will be out here on the side. That will be the graphene. Graphene goes out to both sides, and here it gets proliferated. This is optional proliferation, whether you use it or not. I have set it up to be requesting Mark II proliferators, because at this point you probably do not have Mark III proliferators. In this case, I do have Mark III proliferators, so we're going to be switching it to 2 Mark III proliferators, because why not? Then it comes into the next build, and this build is pretty big. It is 8 deep and 8 wide, so that's 64 assemblers here, assemblers Mark II. That gives us a total of 32 per second, and 32 per second. We all know that that cannot be placed on a belt here, because that's only capacity 30. So we have to deal with these silly things here, the pilers, and why, oh why are they not called stackers? I'm going to mention it every time, because they really should be called stackers. It makes so much better. They're not making a pile, they're making a stack. So I'm stacking it here, and then we are double stacking it here, so we get as much empty space on the belt. We're stacking before here, and then we're putting it in on the belt. That is guaranteeing that we will definitely always be able to transport all 32 on this output belt. And that's just basically how this works. You can stamp this one down, and if we just do it here, you can see that there's just enough room for building one more next to it down here. We're not going to build it because that's going to be taking up a lot of space here. So that's a pretty damn cool build, and that takes care of your initial solar build, and that will get you started on building your first Dyson sphere, your first Dyson swarms. For example, in the new system where you want to set up, then you need some solar sails to make the swarm, to get some power, and this is just a super easy way. 32 of this is getting you quite a long way to success, and 32 is it's a lot of power you can get from 32 per second. So this is good, and of course, if you want more, you can make 2 of those. I would not recommend filling up an entire planet, because by the time you filled it up, you're probably transitioning into the second build. And this is where we now transition into the second build. And we're now ready for the second build. The second build is even better. Of course it's even better, because this is the final build. This is what you're going to need. It is surprisingly only making 37.5 solar sails per minute. But that is, so it's using fewer materials and fewer entities, and it also takes less space, and it still deals more. That's the benefit of having higher tech. Now this is, again, in terms of placement, it takes 3 planetary sectors in width, like 1, 2, 3. That's basically how it goes. But this one is, you can also place 3 of them inside of the same planetary sector. So you can actually build it right here. This will now be from the side 1, 2, 3 big squares. That is where you want to place the middle one. The middle of the planetary logistics system, and I can see that I'm gonna miss some components. That is not a big deal. We should have enough for that. There we go. We should have enough of this. And now this is different from the other build, and we're going to be taking a look at how it is different. For example, we see now it's getting iron and copper in. That is for the green circuits, but it's also getting now the optical grading crystal. This means this is ideally placed in a location or on a planet that has optical grading crystals, such as this one have, so you don't have to transport them off planet, but ultimately you can place them anywhere in the galaxy you want. Now here you can also see that we are using proliferators Mark III a bit more abundantly, and that means that even from the part where we get in our green circuits come in, get proliferated here, together with the optical grading crystal that we are not getting right now. And then we go into a build here. These are now using Mark III assemblers, and also over here we can see that we are using Mark II chemical plants. So at this point I am assuming that you have everything unlocked, and we are using the best things that we have available for whatever we need. And now you can see here we get the the optical gradient crystals down the middle and out to both sides, and it just fills up on either side, and it just starts chugging along. It's going to go for the same principle. It makes a line here that goes out on the outside, and also on the other side it goes out on the outside. We are going to bring our proliferators along with us, and on this side we're going to do basically the same as we did for the previous build. We're going to bring fire ice in, we're going to bring hydrogen out, and we're going to bring the solar sails out as well. The principle is still the same. I get fire ice in, loops around and goes back, and the hydrogen goes here and loops back again. Again, remember, you have to consume a lot of hydrogen here, and maybe later on at this point you might want to do something like Casimir crystals or something else that is consuming a lot of hydrogen, or convert it to deuterium or whatever you feel like. So here we use the quantum plant, chemical plant. Use quite a bit of power, but otherwise it'll be twice as big. You can probably make it and still fit it into this within the space, but I wanted to make it with the best materials available. And now we also see that over here we have the proliferators coming in like last time, coming in and filling up this area here. It loops around and fills up everything, and as we now can see, everything is now built and all our solar panels are going to start working. Again, we have a build here where we have to use the pilers, stackers, so to make sure that we have enough coming in on the middle lane. And that is basically it. We have 10 out here, so it's 10 times 4, that's 40, but this is they are crafting speed 1.5, so they count as if they were 60, so that need producing 15 per second, and multiplied by the proliferation, that's 1.25 times 1.25, so we get 18.75, and then each of these process output 2, so that means we are getting 37.5 out of this build. It is smaller, it's cleaner, and it takes the part of the build that I really enjoy having it, like 1/3 of a planetary sector and by 3 sectors wide. So building a few of these, and then you should be having all of your solar sails needs covered. It's a very neat little build, and of course, as always with these builds, they are available on my website, so check the link in the description below if you want to take a look at this. And of course, I gotta remind you, make sure that you subscribe to the channel, because I'll be making more guides like this with some cool crisp designs. I am currently working on one for the small carrier rockets, and if you have other ideas for things that you want sort of like consolidated nice blueprints for, then by all means let me know, because then I will happily make it. It's one of the things I enjoy the most, is making cool designs that you can either use or can inspire you to make your own variations of it. So thank you very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, take care, and as always, stay effective.